Welcome to this Earth Science 2, ES2 that is, success criteria. In other words, this is the review sheet. These are the things you need to know in order to be successful on the test. So again, this is for Earth Science 2, Learning Set 2, so it covers lessons 5 through 8, and it's one of 3 videos that you have access to. Now, the first thing on your review sheet, be able to describe the Earth's orbit and know how the Earth is positioned in relation to the Sun during winter, spring, summer, and fall. So what you're going to have to be able to do is you're going to have a diagram similar to this on a test. Now that diagram is going to look a little different because it's not going to have certain things that you might like on it. Let me grab a pen here. So for example, it's not going to, well, one, on a test, it's not going to have these arrows in here showing the direction in which the Earth revolves around the sun. So you're going to have to know which direction it goes, and it goes counterclockwise. Then what you're going to have to be able to do on a test is you're going to have to be able to write in here and tell me what are the seasons. So when we look at this, and here's the sun, and here we have North America, so what season do you think it would be? If you said summer, you are correct. And this is why it's summer. We know it's summer because the northern hemisphere is positioned, so remember the tilt of the Earth, so that it's angled towards the sun. When it's away from the sun, this is our winter. And then you go from winter, you have spring, and then here you have fall. So make sure you're able to do this on the test. Make sure you're able to look at a diagram and know what are the seasons. Now, number 4 on the review sheet, be able to explain why the temperature is colder as you move farther away from the equator. And this diagram does a nice job of that. Remember, we did an experiment. Let me move that back. We did an experiment in class, or we did a lab where we had the clipboard, and we showed you that when the clipboard was facing the flashlight and was straight up and down, and then we drew a circle around the light of the flashlight, and then we tilted the clipboard at an angle, and we also circled the light. And you notice that when it had an angle, the same amount of light, and the flashlight didn't change, it was the same distance away, but the same amount of light covered a much larger area, and that's because of this angle here. And it also has to go through a little bit more of the atmosphere, but the main thing is that because it covers a greater area here. So be able to explain why the temperature is colder as you move away from the equator, while the same amount of light has to cover a larger area, so it's got to heat a larger area, and that's caused by the curvature of the Earth. Now, does this explain the seasons? Because you have to be able to explain what causes the temperature difference that creates seasons. No. Now, what we saw here was that because of the angle or the curvature of the Earth, this doesn't receive as much light. But then theoretically, here in Wisconsin, we should just be colder year-round versus the equator. But we know that it gets warmer during the summer and it gets cooler during the winter. And the reason for that is because of the tilt of the Earth. So be able to explain what causes the temperature differences that create the season? It's the tilt of the Earth. Because when it's facing the sun here, and so we can see if this is the sun, the northern hemisphere is facing the sun, we're going to have summer. But if you go on the flip side, if the sun was over here and we're 180 days away from summer, now all of a sudden the South Pole would have the summer and we would have our winter. So the seasons are caused by the tilt of the Earth. The reason why it's getting cooler as you move from the equator up is because of the curvature of the Earth. So that does complete the first review video. Again, if you have any questions, make sure you ask in class before the test.